most significant rate limiting milestone has been achieved yesterday with the licensure to 2 vaccines. And now the processes of quickly procuring them and moving them down the cold chain to the people, to the district will begin.
After months of battling the corona pandemic, the countdown begins for the rollout of the vaccine. The centre has said that the first jab will be administered by the 14th of January and there will be a dry run in all districts on the 8th of January. Union Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan will also hold a meeting with all state health ministers on Thursday. A pan-India infrastructure has been set up for the rollout, including 4 primary vaccine depots and 37 stores to streamline distribution. The vaccines will be airlifted from manufacturing hubs and moved to states before being delivered to local health centers. The CoWIN app has been developed to ensure the registration of beneficiaries and the scheduling vaccine doses. In addition to this, provisions have been made for real-time reporting of any adverse effects post-inoculation. But as we inch closer to a rollout, concerns have been raised over vaccine data, namely safety and efficacy. The Covishield vaccine is undergoing bridging studies, while Covaxin is in phase 3 trials. Even as the vaccines only need a fridge for storage, a pan-India cold chain network is critical for the rollout, along with a foolproof app for effective delivery to each and every Indian. This will be the world's largest immunization program, and the big question that emerges now is India ready? Dr. Raman Gangakhedkar is joining me live. He is epidemiologist and former DG of ICMR. Also on the show, Dr. Shahid Jamil, India's topmost virologist. Dr. Arvinder Singh Soin is the chairman, liver transplant and regenerative medicine at Medanta. Professor Dilip Mavlankar is the director of IIPHG. Thank you so much for your time, all of you. Dr. Gangakhedkar, I'm going to begin with you. Your view on the approval to Covaxin. Several leading epidemiologists say we could have waited for the efficacy data. My question is India ready?
Yeah, I think, in terms of, if I was to talk in terms of our preparations, perhaps we are completely ready. I think one of the things which is going to be a little bit of a challenge will be having had the controversy surrounding it on the media. You will find that perhaps some vaccine hesitancy is likely to increase. So the government will have to engage with the community and ensure that the community is also sensitized and brought together to support the entire rollout plan, and their doubts are also allayed. To a large extent, the government has also issued FAQs for the same. I think it's only that they may have to come out additional strategies to ensure that people's anxieties are reduced.
Dr. Gangakhedkar, on Friday, the biggest dry run will be happening. That will be in every district of India. How do you look at the sheer scale of it before the final rollout?
In India, everything is to the scale, to the highest scale in the world. Because essentially one has to understand our population size is big. We have a huge healthcare infrastructure. But would that become a major challenge? Perhaps not. One has to understand that the entire healthcare infrastructure has also been sensitized to doing these kinds of immunization activities in childhood vaccines. And so essentially it's priming them to do an adult vaccination drive. And I'm sure the kind of healthcare infrastructure that we have will rise to the occasion, and we'll be able to show to the world that we are not only able to do childhood vaccinations really well, we can also do adult vaccinations well.
Okay. Dr. Shahid Jamil, coming to you now. Thank you so much for coming on my show, sir. Since vaccine is here and 2 of them already have been approved and many more are in the pipeline. Do you feel in coming days, say 6 months, the people would have a proper choice to opt for the vaccine they feel would be best for them?
Well, certainly there's going to be more than one vaccine available to Indians. The question really is whether those vaccines would be available only through the government network or also through private practice. And I don't have any clarity on that. But yes, certainly Indians will have a choice
in future. What's not very clear at this time is, where are we looking at beyond the first 30 million people, the healthcare workers and the frontline workers, those above 50 or those below 50 with comorbidities, whether they will also get vaccinated for free through government facilities, or there would be a mixture of government vaccination versus private vaccination. So it really all depends on that.
Professor Ganga Khetkar, would you respond to that? About clarity that is needed on certain subjects?
No, with respect to public-private partnership, I'm sure public-private partnership has also been defined in terms of delivery of vaccines also through identified private places, which may be in the hospital, which may be larger clinics where this can happen. Now, with respect to whether we would be providing the vaccine beyond 30 crore population, I think that's a question which we will have to weigh as the time passes by. One needs to remember that since I come from HIV background, I can quote better examples from HIV.
Okay.
When free antiretroviral therapy program was to begin, we all of us know that to begin with, the cost of the drugs used to be 40,000 rupees per month. Now, that came down so dramatically the moment the government started moving into market-related activities. You find that today the cost of medicines comes to only about 500 odd rupees per month. Now, to me, did that happen overnight? It did not happen. But it happened perhaps within next 2 years' time. Here, since there are too many players who are likely to come into the foray after their approvals, you will find the process may lead to dramatic drops in market rate, and then the government can take that decision as to how they would like to move about.
Okay.
But at the same time, we must also keep at the back of mind that conventionally, so far, whatever has been happening in India, it has been a mixed model that has been working. But the choices can be made as we complete the first phase. I think it is too premature to ask that question right now.
Okay.
When we haven't done 30 crore vaccination.
Before I get in other panelists, a quick word from you, Dr. Jamil. The rules don't demand or empower the DCGI to revoke its accelerated approval if the vaccine's efficacy isn't borne out in phase 3 studies. Then what really happened in the case of Covaxin?
Well, yes, if the efficacy doesn't hold up, then the DCGI will have to take a call on it. Rules also, Indian Drug Act doesn't also have emergency use approval, but that has been made for a special circumstance and for a special reason. So similarly, if the efficacy doesn't hold, then the drug controller will take a call on it.
Dr. Soin, come in on this. The Serum Institute of India already has 40 to 50 million doses ready. The priority list has been prepared as well. Will the dosage be given to everyone, and what's the optimum number to break the chain, the transmission chain? Your audio is muted, I think. Okay, we'll try and fix that audio with him. Professor Mavlankar, respond to that question, please.
Can you just repeat the question?
Yes, I'm asking what is the optimum number that has to be given, the optimum number of Indians who have to be vaccinated to break the transmission chain?
Yeah. Let me answer it by recent analysis we did about 3-4 weeks ago. India has 739 districts totally. If you take the top 50 districts of India, which has about 60% of the cases and maybe 65-70% of the deaths. So I, as an epidemiologist, would think that government will prioritize these 50 districts, and rather than vaccinating in the first phase all the districts, because there are many districts which I know have one case a day of 10 lakhs, 6 lakhs people even today. So I think the big cities where the cases are concentrated or where population is dense and where the transmission is still very active,
Okay.
and hundreds of cases are being reported, there should be the first areas where vaccine should be first given. And that is the area where people will be ready to take vaccine. Because if some district or some remote states have very few cases, people will really not see the value of vaccine, except now everybody is afraid. So hopefully people will not hesitate so much, they will come forward. So besides health workers and elderly, my feeling is we should focus on where active transmission of the disease is happening, looking at last 2-3 weeks epidemiological data. And that way we will sort of cover the key hotspots of the disease transmission. And with very limited number of vaccine doses, we can really break the back of this pandemic.
Okay, so Dr. Ganga Khetkar, is that really the thought that as far as the states which have the maximum caseload are concerned, they should be given the priority over the other states? Dr. Ganga Khetkar, that's a question for you, sir. Yes.
I'm sorry. No, I agree with him that it could be one of the ways of fine-tuning strategies, but one has to keep certain things in mind. Now, this, I'm sure that Dr. Mavlankar is also trying to think of the population a little differently. This doesn't apply to the healthcare workers or frontline workers or to those who are likely to have higher mortality rate after acquiring this infection, like the ones which are defined as more than 50, chronic morbidity and things like that. So for the rest of the population, this kind of strategy may be adopted. But when we think in terms of this kind of strategy, one must also remember that the outbreak is in dynamic phase. No, it is possible that what you estimate now may not hold true subsequently. And in order to be on the right path, we will have to keep on doing national sero surveys, which are also being done repeatedly. The third national sero survey is also on as of now. And that information can also be utilized only when you are almost close to finishing the first priority stage.
Dr. Soin, come in on this. My question is, how will you deal with those who are hesitant because of questions being raised about the efficacy of the vaccines?
See, one thing is pretty clear. Both vaccines that have been approved by the DCGI, Astra first and apparently as a backup, the Bharat Biotech, are both safe and they're both immunogenic, which means they generate a good immunological response. So I don't think there should be hesitancy in taking it because especially if, like has been said before, if we give it in high prevalence areas to high-risk people, including elderly and the frontline workers and the ones with comorbidity, then they should definitely take the Astra. And when the Astra exhausts, and if we haven't got another one, then I would definitely go for the Bharat Biotech because safety is proven beyond doubt. So they're not going to come to any harm. And if they're generating immune responses, especially general immune responses, which is kind of resistant to the virus mutating to an extent, then I think it's going to be a useful vaccine as a second line.
So what about the UK variant of the virus?
And the UK variant of the virus, any future variants of the virus, you see, because the Bharat Biotech vaccine actually has antibodies against multiple epitopes, not just the spike protein. And it also has been shown to generate good T cell responses, which may not be detected by conventional antibody testing. So although efficacy data is still to come in, I would consider this as a very strong candidate for future protection for us, because after all the needs, all the vaccination needs of the nation cannot be met with just by one vaccine. There's got to be 3 or 4 vaccines that are called into play.
Okay. Dr. Shahid Jamil, most of the vaccines are of dual dosages. The fact also is that if the recipients takes 1 dose of the vaccine but do not follow up with a second dose, they will not be fully inoculated. And in India, we have seen poor compliance experience for vaccination of diseases such as tuberculosis, diphtheria, polio, etc. How big this challenge would be to bring back those inoculated again to the healthcare centers?
Well, I think initially it's not going to be a challenge, because initially we will be vaccinating healthcare workers and frontline workers who are really a captive population. One hopes that by the time this is getting over, this initial phase of people being hesitant to vaccination will be over, and people will come forward for the second dose as well. I think it's critically important that there is very clear communication and people understand that just like they stop taking antibiotics once they start feeling better, and that causes antimicrobial resistance, they shouldn't be doing the same to vaccines, because if they get just 1 dose and not follow up with the other, they will not be protected. So clear communication, I think, is going to be crucial. And building trust in vaccines, all of us need to work very, very hard to build trust in vaccines.
So, after the press conference from Bharat Biotech, do you agree that the defense is convincing, that they have put out in the public domain? Have they answered all the questions that you have raised?
Well, yeah, better sense should have prevailed on the 2 gentlemen. That should not have been done. Nevertheless, no point crying over spilled milk. I think there is a tough road ahead, and we should just concentrate on that.
Okay, in the last few minutes, I'll take the closing comments from all of you, and I'm going to begin with you, Dr. Ganga Khetkar. In the next few weeks, what do you see is the immediate challenge?
The Indian challenge would be perhaps community mobilization, which we will have to do it fairly well, because your health system works based on orders and based on SOPs that are shared. But we have to work on the community to ensure that the community is not only sensitized, but is also willing to participate. And I strongly believe that community empowerment, community mobilization are the crucial steps if you want to eliminate any disease, not only COVID, but if you have to address any health issue, you must have this as a major component.
Professor Mavlankar, the fact is that the government says that they have prepared a plan, and we can see that being shared again and again, and also that the biggest dry run exercise which will be happening in all districts of India will be happening on Friday. Now the question is about doing away with hesitancy. Tell us about your own experience with any particular vaccine and how was that countered?
If you see the history of polio vaccination,
yes.
And even though it was not injection, oral vaccination, we took a long time to get polio out of the country. So yes, vaccine, the supply side may be all set, and we have the cold chain, we have the storage, we have everything, we have done dry run, but people must volunteer. This is a completely voluntary program. People must show up. Of course, the panic and pandemic is a very different thing than what polio or any other disease has caused. So my sense is people will come, but they have to be reminded, and they have to be continuously through the media like yours and other media reminded that the epidemic is not over, and it is still may come back in a different form, or second wave, third wave, whatever. We have to keep on doing that.
Dr.
But
Soin,
my again plea,
Yes, Dr.
is to
Soin.
focus on where the active transmission is.
Yes, Dr. Sorensen, I'm looking at your own tweet that you put out of having faith in the vaccine, having faith in the scientists. Tell us your own idea of what should be done in the next 1 week or in the next few days before the V-Day or the launch day.
I've said that before. I think we should all have faith in the scientific method that has been gone through to prepare these vaccines, and the DCGI's diligence over these vaccines in terms of them being safe and immunogenic. So that's the one. We should trust them. We should not be hesitant in receiving the Astra vaccine, and when the time comes, the Bharat Biotech vaccine. I think the other big challenge is going to be to make sure that every vaccine that is delivered to a healthcare institution or a distribution point is actually administered to the population. Okay. You've seen what's happened in America. Only about 20% of those delivered have actually been administered to people. So we have to make sure that no vaccines go waste and that they're all administered and given to whom they are meant for.
Okay. Okay. Dr. Shahid Jamil, 30 seconds to you, sir, quickly. Your final thought.
Well, my final thought is that vaccines are a product of science. Continue to celebrate science. Don't undermine science based on non-scientific issues. People who are raising questions are canaries in the mine. Don't kill the canary, otherwise mines can explode.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Shahid Jamil, Dr. Raman Gangakhetkar, Dr. Soin, and Professor Dilip Mavlankar for raising those questions and answering questions for our viewers as well. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll be seeing you tomorrow.